again, so for Kungarna in the next phase. Casters, take it away.
Dummy on Anna, boys. They're bringing it back. Decod, Fried Wiener, they're going to be going for a Zarya strat with the Reinhardt, but it's going to be 3 tank for Fractal Esports, as Enke will be the solo DPS on Junkrat, putting the pressure out. They're going to have the healing from Tensa and Meek, so a lot of healing across the board for both sides, but really looking at seeing Dummy back on Anna here to see what kind of pivotal plays he might be able to make with his sleep dart.
Frill already under a lot of pressure, will potentially go down eventually to Reach, as Reach is going to be able to claim 2 kills of his own. The charge is going to go through, but Decod will come out on top of that one, even getting the charge on to the D.Va there. I'm not quite sure how that happened. I think he got booped into it.
Asleep.
Oh, okay.
Fully asleep by Dummy there, just asleep in the middle of the control point. And now they do get control early on. Ultimates will come out, and a lot of damage surely for
Ajax.
either Decod, Fried Wiener, or Reach if they do wind up getting that up quickly now. They'll need it now more than ever, as they did lose Ajax. He'll be able to speed and boost himself back onto the point. Coalescence coming out, but Dummy needs to get this damage down. They do actually get the Graviton, keeping Decod alive. They're actually purpled as well.
Oh, that Bionade just shutting them down potentially in Reach, or rather Enke coming in with the Riptide is going to be shut down by Ajax with a boop, and just like that once more we will see last night's leftovers come out on top and in the big way, considering they still have the Sound Barrier and they have the Nano Boost attack visors, so we'll see swaps on the other side for Fractal Esports, but considering the disadvantage they're at already, things are looking exceptional here for last night's leftovers.
Still holding out to both support ults. Dummy already throwing it out. Inlayer will be on the receiving end of that boost. Tac visor coming out to go ahead and duo with that, and they easily clean up. That is an easy fight for last night's leftovers. Again, just pushing Fractal Esports back. They'll have the Sound Barrier in this next one. Fried Wiener very high on energy right now. That charge level that he has might allow them to get another Graviton into this next fight if they make it last long enough.
Phil's gonna be lying off to the sides, looking to split their attention with the Genji for now, but the Sound Barrier once again is set ready, but in the meantime Frill will actually find 2 kills, so this is going to be the big opening Fractal Esports needed, as indeed it will be Frill getting a triple kill, and with it will secure his team the point eventually, but quite a lot gained here for last night's leftovers, and considering, as you said, the fact that Fried Wiener is actually getting very close to that Graviton, Sound Barrier is at the ready as well. It's gonna be still very difficult here for Fractal Esports to get a first round win.
I think that was smart for them to just disengage and don't commit anything there. Come back in, have your options available with Reach there to provide some damage into a Graviton Surge, but you need to be quick about having that extra little bit of charge. Gator under fire, he'll go down. Graviton at the ready.
The self-destruct will be used, and it will indeed find 1 kill to Ajax. Pretty big one, but the Graviton is finally going to come through. Transcendence, not quite sure it was needed there, actually. And the Blade is going to come out. Can it find the targets? Earthshatter will be used, and as a result, Enalayer will find the kill onto Enke, but overall, it's still a back and forth. Both teams claiming kills, as Meek is going to find Fried Wiener as well. Frill forced to disengage Riga with Gator, as he's going to drop pretty low himself, but now it is going to be the Nano Boost attack visor looking to push them away, and considering the fact they're so close to getting this first round, this is going to be an important team fight, as Decod is going to actually find Kaluj, making it a 6v5, and we'll see even Gator force to pop that Primal Rage, and finally Enke entering with 1 kill into Decod, somehow making things still happen potentially for Fractal Esports, and all of a sudden it's going to be looking better for them because they have the Sound Barrier and they have a hold of the point.
They just need to get some value out of this Earthshatter. So far, Decod hasn't been able to get much done with it as they tried to shut down Enke, but I think he just jumped right over it. They still found the kills, but it just wasn't quick enough. They weren't able to, you know, stabilize, regain their footing as Frill jumps in, pulse bomb, not gonna find anything, just barely missing on Reach, but they go ahead and dodge that one for now. Sound Barrier is out. Meek does have Transcendence, so Fractal Esports could get this done right now.
Gator, are you alright, buddy? I'm not sure what happened, but The Earth Shatter is going to connect under a lot of targets, but the Blade is at the ready for NK, however, unable to really engage back in. He's going to potentially find a target, however, shut down potentially with the Bionade. It's going to be Dummy claiming that kill, but Gator will be back into the fray now from spawn. Graviton will come out. Reach finally having that Riptide is going to look for targets, looking for the decent. In the meantime, though, Frill managing to get the Junkrat that was piloting said ultimate, but in the air now with the Tech Force unable to get into the point with Fried Wiener, and somehow Fractal Esports will still recover and get that first round win.
That looked so winnable for last night's leftovers, and you have to give props. You have to give, something to Fractal Esports now, because they were able to just stay in that one and close it out. We saw them have the Graviton, Fried Wiener's Graviton, the second one at least, just wasn't quite there, and they just couldn't find value because, Fractal Esports was just so spread. They were taking things from so many different angles that the Graviton never really caught more than 2 people, and when it did catch 2 people, usually it was with a support ult to kind of keep them alive for a little bit of time. It was only until the very end where we saw the Riptire actually able to take out both, but still, I mean, Fractal Esports looking pretty solid. They might be able to hold this one out. They have the advantage. It's tied up 1-1-1, so whoever wins here on Lijiang Tower, they're going to be moving forward in the tournament.
Well, we'll see whether or not that will happen, because the problem here for last night's leftovers is the fact that they actually need to win this one and then one more to actually advance, and so far we will see the point going potentially in favor of Fractal Esports as they're already on top. Gator will be on that Roadhog. Frill finding the first target onto Dummy. Gonna make it a 6v5, and this first team fight once again will go in favor of Fractal Esports. But as I say that, Reach finds one return kill onto Frill with the Helix. They get a 5v5. Fried Wiener gets a decent, but in the meantime, NK also claiming 1 kill of his own onto Decod with the Swift Strike. He's gonna force the other side to regroup for now. Without that Winston in the fray is going to make things that much more difficult, but at the very least for them, they do have the Tech Visor ready to go. But the Blade could be just as of a strong of an answer.
We'll have to see how they utilize it, but coming right through the speed boost onto Reach, they secured the first kill on the Frill. He'll go down, but he opens the side up for them. Last night's leftovers looking to try to get an opening and stabilize with it, but with me coming through with the Transcendence, I don't know if they're going to find that. They're holding out. This fight has been going on for so long, but Fractal Esports has never lost control.
And Dummy now even dropping really low, finally saved by that cast of the Sound Barrier. The Blade though, now at the ready is going to come back in, gets 1 count to Ajax Sound Barrier from Fractal Esports. And as you said, considering the fact that this team fight has been prolonged for such a large amount of time, this will mean that Fractal Esports once again will be able to recover and get a hold of the point. And with 56% already being built up, we will finally see swaps from the other side here coming at our last night's leftovers. But is it too late here?
Again, Fractal Esports, I mean, they just have such an advantage already by being up 70%. If they're able to make this, if they're able to stall out a little bit on this next fight, or at least get a first pick, maybe with a pulse bomb going out, finding a stick, if they can get something like that very early on, they'll look very, very good to secure this map here.
Crescent though already forced here. Last night's leftovers will be using that one. Oh, the pulse bomb does get eaten up by the Matrix though, and as a result, we'll still see Frill claiming 1 kill onto Dummy, so it's a 6v5. Things still looking stellar for them, and this could be it. For last night's leftovers, they need to win this team fight. 93% built up on the point. The kill's finally going in favor of them, but NK popping the Blade will still look for targets. Gets one onto that Tracer and the D-suit, so it's not over just yet. NK still fragging out, still finding those kills. Will make things difficult, and they might just shut down last night's leftovers' dreams to stay in the tournament. But as I say that, Fried Wiener finally gets another kill. Frill though still answering with one of his own onto Decod. LNL need to make this happen, need to make this work, but Frill gets another pulse bomb kill, pushing them away, and this final desperate attempt will not be successful. Last night's leftovers might just go out right here, right now, with Frill coming back in, getting the frags, and securing the win.
Last night's leftovers 5-0 right now in Contenders Trials, 16-4 on maps, giving them a +12 map differential. But here they get taken down by Fractal Esports. Overwatch Pit dreams have been nullified. They are out of the tournament, and Fractal Esports will move on to take on Kungarna in the next series.
That's definitely going to be another exciting one. We will be moving over to a break, but we will resume shortly. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back once again at the analysis desk. Fractal Esports definitely making a quick work of last night's leftovers on Lijiang Tower. They looked way better than in the previous map.
I think it was really close on that first round, especially, but as you said, when it came down to it on the second one, they were just in control throughout, and even for that prolonged team fight, they bought enough time for NK to come back in and clean things up with the blade.
In my opinion, MK was the MVP of that match. He was hitting some crucial Dragon Blades, and that basically allowed his team to have such an easy time, especially on the second point. Now, looking at the bracket, we are going to have Kungarna going up against Fractal Esports. We've seen Kungarna perform in a various ways. Sometimes they are very good, sometimes they are a bit less good, so to say it nice. Now, what do you think we are going to see this time?
That's the big question, right? Which Kungarna are we going to see? Are we going to see the one that really steps up big time, have huge plays with the likes of Jesus on something like a Tracer? Of course, even a Zyre with his Genji plays in the past that had some really high highs. But that's the big problem. We don't know which Kungarna we're going to get. And if it's the weaker one, it's going to be scary for them.
I mean, Fractal Esports, they had more consistency, in my opinion, so to say. So it's going to all come down to what Kungarna will show up today. Now, the first map is going to be Route 66. We've seen quite a bit of it so far, Brunch, and we also seen that dive is basically one of the ways to go.
Most definitely. I mean, it's one of the ways to go, if you will, on pretty much most of the maps. But this could be one of these maps that favors something like Widowmaker. We might see, as a result, some more Mercy play, especially considering the fact that it's Fractal Esports we were talking about. Hence, I has played that quite a bit, to say the least. Soldier could come into play as well, just to deal with the likes of a dive composition and just counter it. But on top of that, I'm really curious as to the defensive side, how they approach their hold. We've seen a lot of different positioning for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, we've seen an aggressive hold on the first point, which people usually do when they're somewhat of a behind or it's overtime. But other than that, it should be a straight game, I'd say. Now, looking at the DPS lineups, Jesus and Zyre have looked very good for Kungarna. Would you give them an edge over Fractal Esports?
It's just so hard to call, just because Frill still has been really good as well, and of course we've praised NK, and for a good reason. So they're going to be matching up against really tough opposition. But as you said, even though Kungarna has looked a little bit shaky up and down, those two DPSs generally have been the consistent ones.
The match is ready. Let's jump right into it.
At first glance, you might notice Vita Coco, who is normally in for the hybrid and payload type maps, is not. It's Chain that's going to be coming through. They typically use Chain instead on 2CP and Koth, but they're going to be opting to have Chain in right out of the gate.
It's going to be Jur on the Mercy this time around. Whereas on the offensive side for Fractal Esports, Tensa once again on the Lucio. We'll have the rest of the Divecom. Gator actually unable to jump onto Big Girls. Not quite sure if that was hesitation to begin with, but overall, no gain on either side. But we'll see Zyre look to push them away for now. Look to charge up that attack visor as soon as possible. Horblue first to regroup with the rest of his team. Gives up quite a lot of charge for his Mercy, so quite a bit in terms of the support ultimates being built up, considering the fact that Zenyatta's are close by two, halfway there. Haku actually, though, will be able to find NK, so first blood going over to Kungarna.
Now it's just about getting the angle surrounding them, and it looks like they're going to be able to do just that. Get Horblue back up and healthy as Jesus going back around. They're putting pressure onto the tanks now as Gator will fall and Kungarna makes the stop.
But at the very least, for the other side, they did manage to cover quite a bit of distance, considering the fact that the Resurrect is available, though. Chain will be back into the battle at the ready once more, and ultimate advantage will be in favor of Kungarna heavily so far, as the other side will at the very least have the pulse bomb to potentially force out something like that Transcendence. Will have also the Transcendence of their own, so far look to see Kalush potentially getting desuited. We'll just drop down for now, give up on that control of the high ground, as Chain will be even forced to use Primary. So Jer committing for the Valkyrie. He's going to look to keep the rest of his team alive, as so far it's going to be the pulse bomb connecting onto Horblue. Zyre, though, coming in with the tag visor. We'll see whether or not he can find the success he needs, as he's going to be pushed away by the likes of the Winston, only finally getting the kill. But NK now coming in with the blade. Pro will find one kill of his own. Transcendence will be forced, but nobody to contest. Only Jer will finally get taken down, and Fractal Esports definitely getting the better end of that deal.
not the best Transcendence. Haku comes away with a kill, but he'll be killed off pretty late, and that will allow Fractal Esports to continue this push going forward. But I wasn't very impressed with the timing of the Transcendence to keep Ezire and Haku alive. They didn't have anybody to contest the point with. It wasn't a winnable fight. Need to have, you know, in that kind of situation, the patience to just hold out and make sure that you have that ultimate for the next one.
And now, considering at the very least, even on the offensive side, they don't have anything anytime soon, really, outside of that self-destruct, of course, onto Kaluj. And so far, it's going to be Frill dropping pretty low. However, nobody going down just yet. The Flick is also going to keep the likes of NK alive for a while, as he will be forced to disengage off with the Swift Strike. But self-destruct will be popped. Frill actually finding Chain, and the self-destruct even getting a kill of its own onto Jer. As that support is going to be out of the question. It's going to enable potentially Fractal Esports to have a really easy time towards the second point, getting a late kill onto Hardblue, and this is not looking good right now for Kungarna.
Fractal Esports has looked very good today, and now it's continuing as they're going to be able to put some free damage out onto Chain. I mean, Chain, he's going to be forced back. I mean, they're already going to be able to get aggressive here and try to go forward and try to, you know, contest the point as it comes through that gateway. But they have to still worry about, you know, Ezire being on the Soldier 76. He has to have the angle to play with, or else they're not going to be able to really do anything. So for right now, at least, Chain and Hardblue are just holding back. They're going to be kind of poking at them a little bit, trying to get their ultimate so they have those resets and allow time by it for Ezire so that he can maybe get his ultimate up, and they turn fire onto NK. Helix rocket onto him as well. They'll easily nullify the blade, take it out of the equation, and now have an advantage into this next fight.
Haku wanting to make sure he stays alive. Pop their Transcendence, not entirely sure whether or not that was definitely needed in that particular engage, but so far now regrouping, we'll see Fractal Esports potentially still getting an advantage off of the fact that they have their own Transcendence available now, looking to dive. Will be Ezire dropping pretty low, will be able to sprint out, however, and with Chain actually popping Primal Rage, he will ever so slightly manage to get out of it in the nick of time with quite a low amount of HP. I'm not quite sure how much he had, but enough. At the very least, Sound Barrier, though, is going to be popped by Tensa, managing to charge that one up, and with it will be the counters. Sound Barrier being popped. Ezire, though, going down with the Tech Visor. It's going to be pretty big, as the self-destruct will be used. Hardblue making a big double kill this time. Once more, he has been definitely really big when it comes to the use of said self-destruct. But now, overall, coming back from spawn, finally Kungarna get the teamfight win and stabilize, but it took them so much time to do so.
They're going to be able to come forward as well, put out some pressure just to make sure that Fractal Esports has no breathing room at all coming away from that fight. Ezire is on this Soldier 76 on the high ground, just putting out damage, but they will be diving onto him very shortly. NK going to take a little pressure from the Helix rocket as soon as he dove in. And now we'll see them with an advantage as Chain falls early. Didn't have the protection from Hardblue anymore, and Hardblue will fall as well.
Now with the Transcendence being blocked, is still available for defensive side, and the Blade on top of it too. NK finds the first kill onto Hardblue, still looking for more. It's going to be Gator picking up the second one onto Jer. But we'll see Kungarna just look to contest on that payload as much as they can, but it's not going to really happen. And with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left, Fractal Esports looking poised to potentially pick up a first win on the board already.
Switching sides.
Very good start for them, and you know, this is one of those situations where, you know, like you said before going into this match, what kind of look are we going to get from Kungarna? Is it going to be, you know, the type of Kungarna that we see able to contest the best teams in this tournament, or is it going to be the Kungarna that kind of falls flat a little bit? Because that's something that we've noticed about this team, is that they've been fairly inconsistent. You know, we've seen them almost able to take a map against Fusion University, who otherwise has looked ridiculous so far in their matches, sitting comfortably in the winners semifinals right now, where they're going to be able to, or sorry, the winners finals rather, where they're going to be able to take on Envision, who has also looked, you know, kind of inconsistent themselves, easily looking like the favorites of this tournament. But Kungarna was almost able to take Gibraltar off of them, and Ezire was fantastic in that matchup. But seems like the one we got today was just the one that kind of falls a little bit short, but they still have their attacking phase. They still have another map at the very least to make up for it if they do not managed to pull this one out here. But 227, that's a very good time for Fractal Esports to start off their first map with.
And we'll see this time around NK onto the Genji, and that was one of the big things that I was wondering about when it came down to it on the defensive side. I would have liked to see potentially Izire actually make the swap over to the Genji himself. As you said, he has had a lot of success playing that particular hero, even up against the likes of Fusion University. So Soldier not quite working out for him this time around on the defense. We'll see whether or not their offensive round will find as much success or even better, as Jesus will actually potentially stick to the Widowmaker.
Oh, and he's gonna swap instead to the Hanzo and swap back over, now going to a Tracer so that they can commit with a full dive. Now creating space, Chain going forward, pulling back now, but Izire will fall very quickly as Meek pulls out that first blood for them. And you know, he's been a little bit quieter lately, but their first map for Fractal Esports, Meek was insane. Actually, both to the first two maps, he was insane.
And so far, we'll see both these teams roll it out on top of the payload. However, Gator dropping pretty low, will be forced to disengage for now. We'll have Tense's help, however, as he will be very close to that Valkyrie, so what it might once again stabilize the team fight. But in the meantime, Izire now dashing through is going to find the first kill. Both supports out of the question here for the defensive side of Fractal Esports, and with that, we'll see potentially, eventually, the likes of NK dropping down. However, he will manage to disengage and survive with what I think was 1 HP. A lot of distance now being covered here for Kungarna, as Haku already available with that Transcendence will look to potentially secure this first point for them.
Izire very close to that blade. They're looking to sustain with Haku as they get their push in. And now NK having a blade himself, but under pressure, down to 25 HP, gonna get followed up. Chain will find that kill as they will have him come back, apply pressure, and this should be Kungarna cleaning up without having to force anything. Frill will take down Haku, and maybe that's an opening for them, but as things are still getting cleaned up by Kungarna, I can't imagine that they're gonna be able to turn this one back around, and that's gonna be it. First point for Kungarna, and Haku actually just barely gets by with a short spawn coming away from that take as well.
The big thing here is, like you mentioned, the fact that they had really disciplined play, considering the fact they didn't overcommit. They have a lot of ultimates to work with, but so do Fractal Esports, and we might just see the Transcendence alongside the Blade come out from the likes of NK, but Soundbearer as well. Their Transcendence of their own is at the ready too, so it's gonna be actually Pulse Bomb going through from Frill, unable to find the target, but will push the opposition away for now. Transcendence, it's gonna be used from the likes of Meek, looking to help his team secure this team fight potentially, but it's gonna be Jesus getting the first kill, and with the blade now finally coming out. Jesus, in the meantime, though, still fragging out, will find 2 kills of his own. Will go ahead and get the Pulse Bomb kill onto Tense. Unfortunate, as it was off of the Diva suit, and now, all of a sudden, once again, it will be Kungarna winning out, and they still have the blade as well, as both of their tank ultimates good to go.
They have been absolutely dismantling Fractal Esports so far on their attack, and both teams now, it looks like they're just kind of struggling on defense, where, you know, looking back at Hanamura, it was a situation where both teams just struggled on attack, but now the opposite issue, as Izire's going to dive up, will pull the blade out, gets moved, but still able to find some kills, and most importantly, onto both supports. That will easily conclude the fight. They're just going to be taking these late kills, trying to create an advantage later on. That's a late kill onto Kaluj. Gator and NK should fall, as NK is at 14 HP, tries to get something done, but Izire will Swift Strike right on through him. Dash kill will happen for them, and Kungarna still going ever forward.
The question is, did that buy enough time for the rest of Fractal Esports to regroup, considering the fact that Gator committed the Primal Rage in order to potentially secure something? And the answer seems to be yes so far. So we'll manage to re-engage on top of that payload, but kills still favoring the blue hand side of Kungarna, means that they're gonna just be able to charge up that much more in terms of those ultimates, getting really close to 6 of them actually. And if you get the second point at that too, with 4 minutes 6 seconds left on the clock, and no ultimates in sight here for the defensive side. Maybe NK soon enough with the blade.
I mean, Kungarna has been surging forward, but not even really having to use too much in some of these fights, and when they do, the fights last just long enough that they're going to be able to have advantages going into pretty much everything, because they're able to charge things back up in some of these engagements. I mean, for the most part, Fractal Esports has been wholly denied in almost every way.
Now we'll see the Transcendence being popped, but even the Sound Barrier, so maybe a little bit too much committed, but the Self-Destruct is going to look for targets, unable to find any. Azire is going to be able to get a kill, however, onto Gator, still looking for more, still holds onto the Blade, as he doesn't even need it. He gets another one with the help of the rest of his team, and with those final few kills, they're going to be rapidly approaching that final point, and considering the fact that, as said, they still have the Blade, it's going to make things very difficult, but at the very least, for the defensive side of Fractal Esports, Meek will be at the ready with the Transcendence soon enough, so we might still see them retaliate. They will look to re-engage, but so far, nothing gained quite yet.
Jesus on the side, flanking about, putting pressure on the backline so that Ezire has an opening to go around the other side. This should be a fight win for Fractal Esports, as Frill picked up some very important picks for them to start the fight off, and they will indeed have the Sound Barrier for the next one. But as we see this next fight commence, Kungarna will not just have the Blade, but they'll also have the Transcendence to back it up, and they might be able to follow up with Jesus having a Pulse Bomb, and as we'll see them take the fight to the point, Jesus should be able to find a stick in this next fight, and maybe those three things combined will be enough for Kungarna to take it and have a pretty similar time to what Fractal Esports was able to come up with themselves.
Fractal Esports managing to win out on that team fight, bought themselves quite a bit of time, and as a result, looking to keep a hold of this, as the Pulse Bomb is going to be eaten up by Collusion. As a result, he will even manage to find one kill onto Chain, now committing the Sound Barrier on top of that too, and we will need to see Kungarna just go ahead and reset as soon as possible, because at this point, they're definitely not going to win it out, but at the very least, they're going to get 2 kills of their own, so some minor things gained there, but overall, still going to be very difficult to push through on top of that last checkpoint.
I mean, we saw them looking so good throughout their attacking phase, but now kind of just halted a little bit, and we'll see Transcendence pretty much ready for Meek as he gets that headshot to secure that last little bit of charge that he was looking for, and as Ezire looks for the Blade, which isn't going to be the case just yet. They found some kills. Meek still is around, so if they do pull it out, he could go ahead and engage with it, but he's actually forced out quite early as Jesus was putting the pressure out, so now they can just hold the Blade, wait for that to time out. They found a kill on the Gator, and this is going to be the opportunity now for Ezire.
Is he going to find a kill? So far, it's going to be likely as he gets 1 onto 10. So the return blade coming out of NK is going to get one of his own onto Azire, but Sound Barrier now popped the defensive side, or rather the offensive side, means that Jesus is going to find a kill onto Kaluj, make that a second one onto the Zenyatta too. So this could very well be the kills we did have to see Kungarna take in order to get the third checkpoint. Phil coming back from spawn with the likes of Tens on that Lucio. Going to make things a little bit more difficult, but overall things still looking stellar for Kungarna as they will look to secure that final checkpoint, but quite a lot of time being stalled here from the defensive side means that they're going to lose that much more potentially, as will be Frill getting 1 kill in the end, but overall things still looking good for them. But as said, these stall coming in from the defensive side is still going to be so important coming into the next round, as they will indeed get that third point, but only 1 minute left for their attacking side.
Yeah, as they also increase the time bank allotted to Fractal Esports, it will be 1 minute exactly to 3 minutes exactly. And in a situation like this on Route 66, where fights can be won by the defense, and we see it quite often, I would be very worried right now if I was Kungarna. I mean, they looked good throughout their first and second phase on their attack, but defensively wasn't really the best, and even the kind of the same for Fractal Esports until that final stage where they were able to get, you know, a massive stall out. But as we look for Kungarna's first attack here, we'll have to wonder if perhaps they're going to be going with something different. We saw Jesus before, you know, he started with the Tracer, but initially he was kind of toying with the idea of perhaps having a Widowmaker for an opening pick. If we see them trying to get aggressive, you know, that them being Fractal Esports, of course, perhaps Jesus could find a first pick for them, create an opening, maybe give them an advantage so that they can have some momentum to go forward and perhaps get that first objective and make a massive hold with the 3 minutes that Fractal Esports has. I mean, it's just, to find a win condition right now with these two time banks, it's going to be very difficult for Kungarna to win this map out.
It's going to come down to potentially just snowballing team fight after team fight, which can definitely happen considering the fact that it was very much so the case for both of these teams in that second phase, but you really need to get there in the first place to potentially make that happen, and so far it It's gonna be Jesus back onto the Tracer, so no Widowmaker for him. As we'll see both of these teams meet up on said payload. However, it's gonna be Fractal Esports losing out overall, as Collusion might get desuited. Will manage to regroup in the nick of time, managing to save that particular one for now. And so far, Jesus going in off from to the side will look to split their attention at the very least, dropping pretty low, forced to use that recall relatively early, so all of a sudden could prove to be very dangerous for them. It will cover quite a bit more in terms of that distance, but this next team fight could be the last one for Kungarna if they lose this one out, as we will see NK already halfway towards that Tech Visor Valkyrie, good to go for Tensa. Zarya though needs to get that blade if he's going to keep his team in this one, as it's going to be extremely close to it. So far it's going to be Jesus though finally claiming the first blood of the fight, and with the blade finally coming in too. Self-destruct will be pop kills coming in for the offensive side, and it will be indeed Kungarna getting that first point in the end, but it was potentially really close there.
So they're able to secure it, and this is what I was talking about before. You know, if their defense looks good on first point, they still have a chance to, make this map winnable. This is still a situation where they can take this one, especially if they can get something done in this next fight. They do have Haku ready to go. They have both support ults, I mean, pretty much ready and up for this next fight. Pulse Bomb from Jesus could be incredibly pivotal as well. But they have to find a way to deal with NK. They have to find a way to close the gap on this soldier and put some pressure down on this, kind of massive DPS threat that NK has been on. And there they go, already putting the pressure out, have him down to 20 HP, no heals just yet. And Kaluj with the first kill will eliminate Chain. And now both support ults already forced out by Kungarna.
And the problem is they need to get on the payload. They will not manage to do just so. NK with Attack Visor securing those final few kills, making sure that does not happen. And it will be Fractal Esports eventually getting the teamfight win to stop them for now. But it's still going to be winnable for Kungarna. It's not going to be over just yet. But considering the fact that their opponents here will have 3 minutes available, it's still going to be extremely difficult.
3 minutes to work with. 3 full minutes. It's going to be a very tough task for Uzire, definitely fighting an uphill battle. Kungarna as a whole, but for Uzire specifically, being on the soldier, they're looking to
still fighting on top of that payload, not really letting them gain any distance off of it. Will look to also charge up a lot of ultimates for the rest of their teams, but in the meantime, even NK having quite a lot of success will look to potentially get a blade soon enough. So far, the D-suit will go through onto Harblue, and that small advantage could be big, but the Pulse Bomb is going to come out of the Jesus, and with that double kill, it could very well be the thing to shut down this push. But it's not going to happen just yet. They still need to go on top of said payload, and in the meantime, Meek does find a kill onto that Tracer, onto Jesus, but in the end, it should still be Kungarna winning out overall.
stealing some time away as well. I mean, they've lost half of their time bank already. They're going to have ultimates coming up pretty soon, but so is Kungarna. They haven't really had to use too much to make this first push happen, where Jesus, you know, with a massive pulse bomb, was completely able to shut down the push almost by himself. And he's back into it. They have both of their support ults, both Jer and Haku having Valk and Transcendence. That might be an advantage for them as long as they can keep Jer and Izire healthy in this fight. They might be able to make the stop here. 1 minute, 10 seconds remains, Brunch. It's going to be perhaps 1 to 2 fights for both of these teams.
Sound very committed, self-destruct on top of it too. The blade is finally going to come out and play, but can he find the targets? Looking for that soldier who popped the attack by Zire, looking to push them away, looking to get a few kills. It's going to be that Primal Rage though, being a huge nuisance on both sides as Transcendence will eventually go down, but it's going to be the kills all in favor of Kungarna, and with that Pulse Bomb on top of Tensa as well. This could very well be potentially the second to last team fight, as she's going to clean up house with another kill onto Meek. And this is going to be potentially one final desperate attempt here for the side of Fractal Esports, as even Kaluj is going to be staggered out.
So a late kill onto him. They're going to be still having that same amount of fight opportunity to get in there. You know, 20 seconds. They should be able to get onto the point, no problem. It's still going to be one of those kind of desperate fights, though, where they're trying to get on because Kaluj is still working his way over there. You know, as it ticks down to about 5 seconds or so, which now they're making their move. No ults on either side. This is the bloodbath to end the map.
We'll see who can come out on top. This is going to be a big one for Kungarna if they manage to somehow get things rolling here. Overtime kicking in. NK, though, getting the decent, so this might be enough potentially for them to get the advantage they were looking for, but so far seemingly not quite the case. Harblu is somehow still alive in that Baby Diva form. Finally will be going down. Kalush popping the self-destruct will look for targets, but it's going to be Jesus getting a kill off of the pulse bomb. And with the spawn, this does mean that Primo, or rather the Winston could be back in action soon enough, and we still need to see Kungarna win out overall, as Jerry's going to be able to find the Resurrect in the end, but NK coming back in. A lot of ultimates are available on both sides. The Tag Vessel will be popped, as well as the Transcendence and Chain does find the kill onto NK, so that's a pretty big one. Transcendence on the other side coming out of Meek too. And with the Pulse Bomb not quite finding any kills coming out of Frill, it's still an all-out brawl on that payload chain, getting another kill. Frill retaliating. It's still anyone's guess as to who is going to come out on top as the self-destruct will be used. Could this be it? It will not quite be enough to find any targets as the return self-destruct will come through. Harbly, though, finding the kill onto Tensa, gets a double kill on that Diva, and even the Blade now coming back from NK will only get the D-suit, and Kungarna might have just done it. Only that Tracer on that fight with Meek on that Sombra, but it's not going to be enough. Kungarna somehow, some way still get the win. But that was an intense first map.
Jesus and Chain went and did some heroic plays there. Jesus went off on his own a little bit, got a couple of nasty pulse bombs that created opportunities for his team to, equalize a little bit. And then, since they were equalized, it created openings for Chain to just jump into the back line, find some kills himself, put pressure on their supports, and they were able to find the win here. But man, that was close.
And next up will be Horizon. You definitely don't want to miss out on that one.
We are back once again at the analysis desk. A very close first map, to say the least. I feel like Kungarna showed one face in the regular time, and then again in the overtime they look completely different. I'd say that Jesus and Chain were the ones basically making a comeback for them, and that was just an insane defense in the overtime.
Well, it was basically their offensive rounds, respectively, on both sides, is where both of them shine. Defensive for both teams really not too stellar, but in the end, somehow it's still Kungarna pulling through, and what an exciting night it's been so far. We're on track to potentially see another third map, another control map.
That is true, and if you ever wanted to get some G Fuel, now is the ideal time for you. Click out below the banner on our stream, and they're currently running a 40% promotion, so you will get a good deal for sure. Now, coming up next, we have Horizon Lunar Colony, and Kungarna is 1-0 up. Personally, I thought Fractal would win, looking at the previous match. Now, who do you think has the upper hand here?
Well, generally, in terms of the map record itself on Horizon, it's been Fractal Esports who should have an edge, should have the advantage. And if NK can once again pop off on that Genji, it's going to make things definitely viable for them. But again, Kungarna still putting the pedal to the metal, if you will. And when it came down to it, with their respective offensive round, really pulling through, made things very difficult for the opposition, and I think it's going to be another tough call.
Yeah, looking at Kungarna lineup as well, I'm glad to see Cheney play. We didn't see him before, as Vita Coco was playing most of the time, and I think this change is working well for them now.
Well, it came down to the fact that they chose to play Vita Coco, generally to those hybrid and escort maps, and Chain for the assault maps. So it's an interesting swap, but so far seems to work.
The match is ready. Let's see if we are going to see the third map. Casters, take it away.
Jesus coming out with a Widowmaker to start things off. Brunch, how do you think this is going to fare? As we've seen Jesus on this before. We've seen other teams employ this strat, you know, bringing the Widowmaker out on defense, but against the full dive where Enke has looked pretty solid already. What do you think this is going to look like for us as we start the map?
Well, I definitely think a lot of viewers will be also excited to see Hardblue once again on the Roadhog, and it seems like so far it's looked good for Jesus on that Widowmaker as he finds that headshot to start things off, potentially quite a lot more damage. As on the other side, it's a full-on dive, and Azari claiming that first kill to start things off already onto Meek. It's going to make things difficult for the opposition, even though they try to dive in. Gator will be taken down, and already Kungarna looking strong even on Horizon.
Oh, Jesus getting a lot of damage off as well. Chain will kill off Frill, as I believe he got trapped. So, of course, he was going to die off there. But so far, things have looked good for Kungarna right now. Staving off that first attack. Really kind of avoiding some of the pressure. But look at Inke's position on the Genji behind them. Might be able to sneak up on someone here, but not being able to find anything just yet. And they do actually spot him out. So far, I mean, Fractal Esports has had a real hard time getting into position, and that will continue.
As both supports are already down, Jesus with a double kill, somehow finding that Tracer and Frill as well, and Notex will be inside for the opposing team. Even Hardblue going in for the staggered onto Kalush with the rest of his team will stare his opponent down. Will eventually get the kill with the help of Haku as well. And the big thing for them is the fact that they will be charging up in terms of the resource advantage, in terms of those ultimates on the other side. Only really, potentially, the Transcendence soon enough for Meek, but on the other hand, Tensa now on the Lucio will be quite far from the sound barrier.
And Hardblue on this Hog, we saw him already popping off on the Diva, especially late in that last map. Gets the hook there, will secure a kill as well, as he will die off. Support ult ready from Transcendence for Meek, as they might need this. Kaluj will lose his mech though, so I don't know how this fight is going to be able to fare for them. Jer going to be able to sustain long enough to perhaps get his, not just his res off, but also Valk if they do in fact need it.
But those are some big kills because Azari going down again as well. It's going to shut him down before he can use that Riptide, and that could have been the big thing that could turn things around back in their favor, but it's going to be kills all about Fractal, as they will eventually claim that first point with 5 minutes 39 seconds left, and they will have a lot of those DPS ultimates too, but at the very least for Kungarna, considering the fact that Azari got shut down so much on that Junkrat, he still has that Riptide, so he could still potentially find the targets he's looking for.
So back to the classic double support duo of Ana Zenyatta that we saw a lot from last night's Leftovers, now has really kind of just, you know, become the meta, and that's going to be NK pulling the blade out. It's going to be Meek finding the kills, but still the pressure from the Blade has been noticed. They're able to find some kills. Hardblue will fall. They have 2 ticks already, and I don't know if anybody's going to be able to stop this pressure that's coming out from Fractal Esports, this momentum they've created in 457. That is a good time.
This is definitely one of the more impressive ones, and Fractal Esports showing why they're the favorite potentially here on Horizon, having a really good time when it comes to that offensive round. But this has been one of the big things with a lot of these teams. They're really good on those offensive rounds because they're so focused around the dive comms in general. And while Kungarna did have a couple of good early team fights, overall, very well done by Fractal Esports to make sure they capitalize off of that first point take and make sure they don't overcommit with the ultimates to secure that final point. And Meek, again, definitely fragging out on the Zenyatta helped them out immensely.
So now looking at Kungarna's attack, we saw how on Route 66 they were able to pull a map win out without really having, too good of a defense to start the map with. And, perhaps they wanted to look to try to shore up some of those tiny mistakes that were made to allow Fractal Esports to have a pretty solid time, a better time on their first attack. And then going into the second pushes, Kungarna was able to steal it away, but doesn't seem like that was going to be the case here, as 457 is generally not often a time that you'll see get beaten. I mean, anything 5 minutes and up is generally going to be the best time. We haven't often seen 2 teams able to, secure both points with a time relative to that one in the same map, going against each other. We haven't yet seen that. It is certainly possible, of course, but it isn't often seen. But we'll have to see how Kungarna fares in their attack, as they are pulling a full dive out themselves. And it's going to be Frill on the Tracer as opposed to the Widow that we saw from Jesus. Otherwise, kind of a similar style, but it is going to be dive from Fractal Esports instead of the more static Orisa Roadhog that Kungarna showed us earlier.
See whether or not that will find a lot of success of its own, as so far NK on that Junkrat, damage boosted on top, will look to get any potential early picks to start things off for his team, as they will be forced to regroup down on near the point. Rest of Kungarna looking to get that high ground advantage potentially, but still contested by the opposition means that they will not get close to that first tick. And even Meek finding the first blood again on that Zenyatta is going to open up things for the rest of his team to stretch forward and look to push the opposition away.
But he's able to find that kill so quickly that he does manage to get up to 40% on his ult charge. And yes, Haku is able to generate a lot himself because he's just barreling orbs into Gator's body right now. So they are going to be equal, but still these Zenyatas have been pushing these ults forward pretty quickly at the moment. Now it's all about executing with the dive. Ezire and Jesus looking to try to find an opening, find someone that's going to be killable. They're looking for Frill. He's going to be stuck, doesn't have his recall. They might be able to find a kill, but he does wind up slipping away for now.
We'll see whether or not that will be the opening. Kungarna needs, as Harville is going to be extremely close to getting desuited. Will manage to disengage and heal back up soon enough, as we'll see the pulse bomb at the ready for Jesus, as well as the transcendence for Haku. But Meek will be looking to answer with the transcendence of his own, as it's gonna be tense, actually popping the Valkyrie, and Gator picking up the first kill. Will look for more, gets the second one, and both support ultimates used at the very least, whereas Kungarna didn't use anything. So if they can go ahead and reset as quickly as possible, they should be looking favored coming into this next team fight. But a lot of time already committed for them.
Ezire with the blade, they'll have the backup of the transcendence. But remember, if they do wind up committing all of these different options for the first objective, they won't have momentum for the second push into point B if they do wind up taking it even. And then when that is the case, it's going to take them even longer to actually unlock the second objective, and that becomes, even more difficult to win the map out with. So we'll have to see what they have to commit for this fight, if they're able to even take it to begin with. But there's the Riptire already committed. NK gonna fall right after, but saved for now. They actually get him out.
And we'll see the blade being popped, but Jer's gonna find that kill onto Tensa, as Zyre still gets the second one onto NK, but overall still an all-out brawl, 2 kills for 2. as we will see the rest of Kungarna look to potentially get that at the very least one tick. Meek, though, finding a Zyre there is going to make things very difficult for them to get anything done, as we will see actually Fractal Esports able to get back onto the point before they get any ticks on it. So it's going to be that much more just disastrous for Kungarna, as they have 60 seconds left and only really the sound barrier as well as the pulse bomb good to go.
Well, with Ezire not able to finish with the blade, I mean, he got a lot of people low, but they weren't able to secure the kills. Meek got low, we saw NK low, we saw Tenso low. Tenso did fall eventually, but was able to secure their lives for some time. Now this is looking like it's going to be the last push. You know, you have to commit Pulse Bomb, you have to commit the sound barrier to get this. And now looking at the second push, you know, to follow up behind it. Oh, it's going to be the sound barrier committed now. Jer pulling that out. They're looking to try to take this fight, but Meek answers with the Transcendence, so they're going to have the healing to maybe stave this off for now. But as they're looking for the kills, it's going to be Fractal Esports falling quite low.
Oh no!
It's going to be the blade.
It's going to be instantly shut down by NK, and as a result, even having the Riptire is going to secure that final 2 kills. And considering the fact that we have 5 seconds left, nobody inside from Kungarna, it will be Fractal Esports potentially equalizing the series here 1-1. It will indeed be the case. And what a hold coming out of them.
Kungarna barely taking away Route 66 and then dominated on Horizon Lunar Colony. Fractal Esports looked phenomenal, making the first point hold. You just don't see that often. I said before, you don't see, you know, 2 teams able to get sub 5-minute times on Horizon Lunar Colony. Man, you just don't see a lot of times a team like this, especially at this stage of the tournament, able to have a score line like that, making a first point hold. But don't go anywhere, guys. We'll have the deciding map coming your way in just a couple of minutes.
And we are back once again. Definitely a different phase of Fractal Esports in this one. They were looking very dominant. Kungarna only looked okay on the first point of defense, but after that it was all Fractal. They basically snowballed and showed an impeccable defense on the second one.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, if you will, Kungarna showing their ugly side instead, as their offensive round really lacking this time around. And I found it quite surprising because I was expecting them to at the very least secure that first point eventually, but we've seen how Zyre got shut down, and that was the big problem that I felt like with this team. The inconsistency, the fact that, okay, while they have some really flashy plays sometimes, definitely being able to take off wins with the top teams or over the top teams, this time around being shut down was all about Fractal Esports, and now they need to definitely keep their momentum and their hopes up because it's all down to this last control map.
Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is that, in my opinion, in the previous map, everyone from Fractal Esports looked great. I mean, everyone was stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do. So I would definitely take them as the favorite coming into Oasis.
It's going to be an interesting one to see whether or not, as they can carry that momentum to a potential third map win. Remember, of course, the winner of this particular series will keep their hopes up into tournament, and the loser will be out. So a lot is on the line, but I think the teams are ready.
The match is indeed ready. Casters, take it away.
Zyre coming through very early on with the Pharah pick. Not going to have any opposition starting out, which, you know, again, that's going to be something to look out for Fractal Esports, because with Meek and Tensa, you know, you want to have the Lucio, and then you maybe want to have the Mercy to back up Enke in the skies, but they might not have that kind of flexibility with these supports.
That was the big problem. While Meek was exceptional on that Zenyatta, seems like the fact that he's not really willing to pick up any other support could be to their detriment. As so far, Gator coming in, potentially going in for the hook, does not quite land it. Will be Kungarna getting the hold of this first point, as we'll see them get halfway there towards capping it. So far, Zyre looking to charge up that Rocket Barrage too. He's gonna be able to find some potential targets. Actually, Meek gonna go down, but not before he gets the DC down to Harbless. So far it's still an all-out brawl, but the man advantage in favor of Kungarna, as the hook is gonna actually connect, but in the meantime, Jer finds one kill of his own with the boop onto NK. That soldier being out of the fight, it's gonna be potentially big. Kaluj even losing his suit. Haku getting extremely close to that Valkyrie, and Zyre having the Rocket Barrage could definitely seal the deal here, especially considering there's no more D.Va suit left.
Kungarna, I mean, Zyre is almost uncontested in the sky right now, and I think that's going to be a problem for them here. But Kungarna, they're going to pull out the barrage early on. They're not going to find anything, at least initially, with it. Luckily, they will follow up. NK will be denied his tack visor. They'll find the kill, and Kungarna is now looking to clean up. They need to just push Fractal either off the point or find the kill there. They will do the latter, and they should secure this in just a matter of time, as Zyre will come back into this, bringing Haku back up. They did force out the Valkyrie in that fight there, but see if Kungarna can hang on now.
And at the very least for their opponents, though, Meek will be at the ready with the Transcendent, so that could potentially clear things around, especially with Frill securing that first kill onto Jer. 6v5 advantage, but the self-destruct is going to come out. Jesus finds one of his own onto NK, goes in for the pulse bomb. Will not quite be successful, though, for Frill. We'll see whether or not Jesus can get better end of that job, as he gets a double kill, actually, on both the supports, and with it, this should be another teamfight win here for Kungarna, as Harbu will eventually go down, get that mech back up and running as soon as possible. Frill eventually falling too. Will be 40% soon enough built up here for Kungarna.
That was actually pretty smart from Harblue to just jump off that quickly. He knew he was confident in his team to just make sure that they had the control there, so he's able to get back in with his mech. So very smart play from Harblue, as we've seen, you know, a lot of those from him already today. But Zyre, again, uncontested in the skies to start this fight off. NK is looking for him, but he's backed off, and now we see the self-destruct come out. It'll find the kill.
Oh, is it gonna be enough though, as it's a 6v5? Valkyrie was popped. Jesus still fragging out, gets another kill onto Gator, looking for more. Out for blood, will find the second one. Kaluj though gets the D-suit, but it's not really gonna be enough, and I just can't see how Fractal Esports can get anything done, considering the fact that it will be another teamfight win here for Kungarna. Only Frill's pulse bomb at the ready. Soon enough, the tech visor at the release for NK2, but this is looking very dire for them right now.
Especially as Barrage is ready, Zyre was able to help his team get some kills, but didn't find anything himself, and they wound up losing him in that fight initially. But now we'll look to see if they can find anything. Now they're kind of hiding, trying to stay away from the soldier or the attack visor that's looking to open things up, but they will actually demech Kaluj, a big opening now to go forward with, but Kungarna is crumbling under the might of Fractal Esports. It looks like Fractal Esports will finally get some points on the board for themselves. They'll take this fight and the point along with it, but man, have to be perfect from here on out.
You have to win all the upcoming team fights, and at the very least, Meek's Transcendence will look to secure them one more on the board potentially. Make sure Tensa builds up his respective ultimate in that Soundbear too. And interestingly enough, Kungarna will actually make some swaps, so Azar is going to be back onto the Genji and Haku onto the Zenyatta, so not quite sure if this is going to be overall better, but seems like already it's looking good as Azar actually finding Meek, shuts him down before he can use that ultimate. However, still with a 1-for-1. It's going to be an all-out brawl onto the point. Look to see whether or not any more kills can happen. Gator going in with the whole hog is going to be shut down. And it's going to be Kungarna potentially once again winning out on this team fight. And if they do just so, this could be very disastrous for their opponents. Fractal Esports struggling to get anything done right now onto the point. They potentially lose it out. Staggered kills are going to be that much worse for them. Meek coming back in with the Transcendence will look to keep NK safe, but the return Transcendence actually popped by Haku is going to secure this team fight for his team, especially with Jesus claiming another kill onto Meek on that Zenyatta. It's just clean up here for Kungarna as it's still all about them in that kill feed.
Frill will contest for just a moment, giving them a little bit of time, but I don't think anybody will make it back. Soldier can sprint, but he's not that fast. 1-0 advantage now to Kungarna as we move into the second map, and you have to wonder what they're going to want to pull out. Obviously, if it does wind up being the Pharah map, I would say advantage to Kungarna once again, but it is a little bit more open. Maybe they can answer back, you know, a little bit better with Enke, of course, being on one of those hit scan classes, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. And we will see Gator and Kalush once again going back over to the Hog Diva as Enke plays Soldier, and Izire once again will be on the Pharah. So again, I have to say that given the the fact that they can run a Pharah here, I feel like Kungarna should have a slight advantage, and it looks like we're about to have someone DC out, and that will be Meek, and he'll come back in, I'm sure, in just a matter of time. But what is your take on this? Obviously, Gator and Kalush should be able to have an advantage on the ground, and because they're not playing with the Pharah, they'll have a little bit of extra damage with the Soldier 76, but however, Izire could be a threat. What do you make of this matchup between, obviously a lot of stuff committed to the ground game for Fractal Esports, whereas Kungarna trying to take the advantage of the sky?
I feel like, as you mentioned, pretty much Kungarna should have an advantage because even that previous round, while Izire wasn't quite the flashiest member of his team, he did create a lot of space, was able to dish out quite a lot of damage, and also displacing the opposition with that concussive blast. So overall, still looking pretty good. And this time around, if NK is really unable to find himself in a good spot to contest him in the skies, it's still going to be Izire able to dish out a lot of damage, especially with Haku in the skies to help him out too.
So it looks like they have we're going to give them time to make sure that they get him back into this, but once he does come back, we'll be jumping right into it. We've already talked about it a little bit. Having Gator and Kalush, certainly going to be a very tough matchup for Chain and Harblu specifically, but Haku should be safe. Izire should be safe unless they get a little bit of an advantage, and NK is, given some space to work with. But if we see them getting very aggressive, if Jesus is able to get off a lot of damage early on onto Kalush or Gator by flanking around or perhaps putting some pressure onto Tensa and even Meek, who isn't going to be safe because he's not going to be running the Mercy that Haku is, they might have the ability to come through, and it doesn't look like he's coming back just yet. But either way, I'm still saying right now that with Izire being on Pharah, Haku being on Mercy, I would say Kungarna has a slight advantage, but it's ever so slight, and that could quickly turn around if Gator and Kalush and Enke can win the ground game with Frill putting some pressure on the backside as well and flanking and everything to just control it outright and allow them time to deal with Izire and Haku later.
And last time around, Kungarna was in this exact situation on City Center. We did see, actually, Harblu, I believe, pick out the big self-destruct to start things off for that first point cap last time around. Both of those teams, when it came down to it, I believe, versus No Cloud in the losers bracket, Kungarna did manage to really capitalize off of those early kills. And we'll see whether or not Harblu's practice with a self-destruct going to pick up once again. But as you said, my eyes are going to be all about Zaire, as whether or not he can dish out the damage he needs to do in terms of that ground game will be the deciding factor potentially here as to which team is going to take that first point cap. And as we've talked about it in the past, that could very well determine which team will be favored to win the round as well.
And I believe Meek was on a Zenyatta as well. So they will have the Discord to push out onto Ezire. So as long as NK is just, here and there kind of just adjusting his sight lines, pushing up and putting some pressure on Ezire to force him to play around, some LOS and everything, that could be an opportunity for them to create some space for the ground game push as well. But we're back into it. Meek's into the game. He's going to be pulling out the Zenyatta, as I just mentioned, and we are underway, Brunch. You say Kungarna still?
I definitely think that this first team fight will determine the rest in terms of the outcome, but I think Kungarna should have a slight edge. But as we will start this round up, Azire already looking for a couple of shots. Managed to stay safe for now, playing around that middle. Just building for now, looking for a few shots onto Meek, actually dropping it down to about 50%. We'll see the Tracer battles off onto the sides. Frill dropping pretty low himself. It's gonna be Jesus actually getting that first blood, and a big one at that, as both supports out of the question. Fair definitely being big time player here for Kungarna means that they should be able to get this first point, but Gator and Frill still being a nuisance will make things ever so difficult, as we'll see both of them survive and buy themselves quite a lot of time, and as a result, points still not quite going over to Kungarna, but Jesus finally getting that kill onto the Tracer means that they should be getting it.
And the concussive blast from Ezire will secure it as well as they try to make one last push to get onto the objective to make sure that they didn't cap it out. Ezire does have Barrage now. We'll have to see if, they can put some pressure on him. Collusion, Gator could easily just, either hook him out or deny it with Defense Matrix. There are a couple options for them, but they're going to look to be aggressive right now as Kungarna has already gotten 20%. They have a lot of ultimates available. We'll see how they want to use them here.
There's a battle still underway, as so far nobody really getting the advantage, but in the meantime, Kalush actually finding the fair in the battle. It's going to make things very difficult for Kungarna, especially with Jesus going down. Tackvisor was committed though by NK. Can't find anything else. This is just going to come through. However, not going to find any kills off of it, and Frill getting another one to Jer means that this should be a team fight win potentially for this red hand side of Fractal Esports, but not before Meek will go down himself. A lot of time stalled here for Kungarna, but only 44% achieved for them.
And they lose people out while they had them on the point. And that should have been a little bit longer of a stall for Kungarna. They still afford themselves a pretty hefty amount of scoreline to kind of play with a little bit, some time to work with as the barrage is still ready. Ezire just got, ripped out of the sky by Kaluge early on in that last fight. Never really got their footing back at all. But already starting things off, Ezire looking for that opportunity to pull the barrage out this time around. Sound barrier already pulled out, so now they just want to try to disengage if they can. Jer is going to be hooked back in, so no hope there for the sound barrier.
That was a big pick, but it's going to be enough as they will look to push them away. And the big problem for Fractal Esports is the fact that this is a match point, and they committed both of their supporter ultimates, so it's going to be NK actually getting another pick onto Jesus. These staggered kills definitely being big for them as they will look to build up something else like the attack visor for NK. Pulse bomb, of course, at the ready. Barrage on the other side as well. But Jer being staggered out, getting picked off to start things out in the last team fight definitely make things very difficult for them. And now it's at 62% in favor of Fractal Esports.
Ezire trying to put some pressure out onto NK. He's close to having attack visor again, though. And if they play off the high ground, which looks like they won't be able to right now, sound barrier already out as Ezire goes forward. They need to create some kind of opportunity for him, and so far they haven't found it. Frill already jumping at him. NK will find the kill. Now both DPS for Kungarna are already down. There's no way, no how that they turn this one around. 86% for Fractal Esports. They're going to get aggressive now, find some late kills. No tanks at all for Kungarna. There's no way that they're going to get onto the point now. I just can't see it at all. But they'll give it a try anyways. 98%. We'll see Jesus make his play, and he will not get onto the point, so it's tied up 1-1. And it seems like the ground game was what Fractal Esports needed to win to secure that one.
Now that we know the last round of the series which map is going to be. Question is, what are we going to see out of both of these teams? Is it going to be a dive comp at both ends, or will we actually see something like Junkrat being played? Because that seems to be the name of the game quite often here. And on top of that, Haku already going over to the Moira does seem to signal that particular comp triple tank with a Zyre on the Junkrat. So we'll see whether or not this can win it out here for Kungarna, because this is going to be the last round, and the winner here gets to move on throughout the tournament. The loser, of course, dropping out.
A lot at stake for these two games that we saw today, and a lot of back and forth between the teams, and that's exactly what we were looking for. Wanted to see some good competition, and boy, did we get it. As you said, triple tank versus the dive right now. Junkrat in play from Zyre, looking for opportunities to get those concussive mines out and find some picks, put some pressure onto Gator and Kaluj to create space for the tanks to go forward. Now things are starting off as Kungarna kind of insulated right now, looking to fend them off as Hardblue is flanked around. Control going over to Fractal Esports. They already secure the objective.
As a result, they're going to look to build up quite a bit more. But on the other side, we will see whether or not Haku will go down, dropping pretty low. It's going to be actually Zyre going down. Meek somehow fighting him in that particular fight, and as a result, I just can't see how they can win this one out, especially with Tensa claiming another one. Hardblue will look to claim one kill of his own, but he needs to try to stay alive because he can stay charged up. It's going to make things a little bit more difficult for the opposition in terms of this upcoming team fight, and Zyre already making the swap over to the Genji, so not quite sold on that one, but at the very least, we'll see whether or not that's going to be more successful overall, especially with Jesus going over to the Diva as well. But so many ultimates charged up for Fractal Esports right now.
They're containing them so well. I mean, Meek hasn't had any trouble just staying at range and just pushing out pressure. They haven't really fired back anything to force out any of these ultimates just yet. Sound Barrier coming out on both sides. Meek will have that, you know, Transcendence available, but it's NK coming through with the blade, opening things up as he killed off Haku. Now Fractal Esports will be able to go forward and again increase their lead. They're already up by 60%, Brunch. I mean, is there any hope for Kungarna to turn this around?
It has to be off of Hardblue's potential big Graviton, but the big problem is the fact that Kaluj will definitely be looking to be at the ready with the Matrix, so it's going to be very difficult. And now that chain is actually going to stick to the Reinhardt. Maybe the Earthshatter will secure a teamfight win, but they really need to make this happen right here, right now, because we're at 80%. This could very well be it for Kungarna. Now, once again, brawling it out. On top of the point, there will be Primal Rage looking to displace them. Earthshatter, though, catching quite a lot, and it's going to be the Graviton, but the kill is still favoring Fractal Esports. It's a 1-for-1. Self-destruct now popped. Looking for more. It's not going to find any targets. Hardblue, or rather Jesus, unable to find anything off of it. However, Zyre needs to stay alive. He needs to be able to charge up that blade to make things work here, as overtime is going to kick in. Kills on both sides, but it will be Fractal Esports still winning out ever so slightly. However, it will be Kungarna still not going down without a fight, but Kaluj picking up another kill onto Hardblue. Is going to be big chain, only claiming one of his own, and Kungarna might be out of the fight. They might be knocked out. Fractal Esports looking to secure the win right here, right now, with Phil getting another kill. Tense on top of that, one of his own onto chain. Desperate attempt, the blade is going to come out, but Zyre is going to be instantly shut down after he claims a kill, and Fractal Esports will get the win.
Going into today, I have to be honest, I thought last night's leftovers was going to be able to be the team to push through the first match and then find the win against Kungarna, but Fractal Esports, I mean, moving Dino off and then picking up Meek, that was going to be something that I questioned, you know, going into this match, but works out for them in a big way. Meek was huge for them in this matchup, and they secure it, and they'll move